Optimizing Display Settings, Part 1, presented by FlightSimulatorXWorld.com. We are all trying to have the best looking graphics in FSX, but we also want the best performance as well. You can go ahead and max out all of your display sliders, but what you may end up with is nothing more than a fast interactive slideshow. The flip side is turning the sliders all the way down and having graphics that look something out of a cartoon show. The goal of this series is to help you optimize your display settings in FSX, to give you a good balance of graphics and performance, so we can enjoy something like this. Rather than something like this. First, let's talk a little bit about hardware. What is important in an FSX gaming machine? Most people will say having a top-of-the-line graphics card. They'll go out and spend $400 on one and find it didn't make much difference. What really makes a difference in FSX performance? It's the CPU, the actual computing part of the computer. This is where FSX does most of its work. If you're going to do an upgrade, or are buying a new computer outright, buy one with an Intel Core 2 Duo, with the fastest processor you can afford. I won't be getting into great detail about hardware in this tutorial. We do that in tutorial 5 of this series. I just wanted to relay this basic information that surprises most people. You really need to consider the type of flying you intend to do. It's been my experience that most pilots will fly the same kind of scenarios most of the time. Maybe your main flying is done in low-flying aircraft, such as a helicopter, single prop, glider, or even the Air Creation Strike. You'll probably want to have scenery settings quite high if you fly these type of aircraft. If you're into commercial airliners or other high-flying aircraft, then scenery is really not all that important. You'll want to focus on the aircraft and environment settings instead. Whatever the case may be, knowing what kind of flying you'll be doing will help you with optimizing your display settings. Also keep in mind there is no reason why you can't adjust the display settings as you climb or descend to different altitudes. Okay, so here we have the usual starting point in FSX. Go down and click on the Settings tab. Here we find the quick sliders for the different areas of display: graphics, aircraft, scenery, weather, and traffic. Use these for quick adjustments. To fine-tune these settings, we need to go down here to Customize. The first pane is the rather vaguely titled Graphics pane. What this pane does is set the graphics settings for the whole environment: aircraft, scenery, and so on. You can set items such as anti-aliasing and the screen resolution. Take note of the Global Settings drop-down menu. It's on all the panes in the Display Settings panel. What this does is let you quickly choose predetermined settings. When FSX is first installed, it takes a look at your hardware and sets the global setting to something it feels is appropriate. If you feel you are getting acceptable frame rates, leave it as is. And if not, kick it down a notch and try flying again. The target frame rate area. This setting tells FSX how many times a second to redraw the screen. Obviously, more is taxing. Keep in mind that 30 frames per second is what motion pictures use. Anything above that is just wasted CPU power. Try 15 frames per second. I find it to be a good setting. Limiting the target frame rate will free up your computer to attend to other tasks, such as drawing scenery. Full screen resolution. This is where you indicate your screen size and the color depth. My screen size is 1680 by 1050, and I can set it to either 32-bit color, which is 2 million different colors, or 16-bit color, which is 65,000 colors. I set mine to the 16-bit. I can't foresee an instance of any scene in FSX that will generate 2 million different colors. This should translate to some savings in the graphics card memory. Filtering refers to the level of blockiness in a scene, less being better, of course. I found that the none setting is awful and it should be avoided entirely. In the same measure, I found that the bilinear, trilinear, and anisotrophic rendered progressively better results, and to my surprise, better performance. Anti-aliasing is a smoothing feature that does produce much better results, especially when viewing your aircraft from outside, but does make a significant performance hit. Unless you have a higher-end system, I'd recommend leaving it off. Let's take a look at some filtering and anti-aliasing examples. Here's the Baron that comes with FSX. Filtering is set to anisotrophic with anti-aliasing on. Not bad. Now here's the same scene with no filtering and anti-aliasing off. Not very appealing. Global texture resolution refers to how sharply focused the textures on the water and land are. For example, if you were flying low and had this setting to high, farm fields, forests, and waters would all appear to be more in focus. If you are going to be flying high most of the time, this slider can of course be set to a lower position. Lens flare is an effect sometimes seen in photography due to the camera's lens, in which light artifacts are seen. Here's an example. You'll see the effect right off the tail. Light bloom washes out objects the sun is reflected in. If you have this option turned on, you'll find that when a part of the plane reflects the sun, that part will get washed out. This is an example of light bloom. You'll see it right above the windshield. Advanced animations include wing flex and animations of people and animals. I generally leave this ticked on, as you don't very often see animations, and when they do occur, they add something to the flight. Informational text is generally used for automated weather advisories that airports transmit. You'll see that text at the top of your screen. You can select it as a continuous marquee type presentation or a simple single line.